also staff to the board.
Great. All right, thank you very much. I think we do have a quorum, so we can actually take action as necessary. All right, next item is the review of the virtual career platform proposal and then vote there afterwards. So Tim's going to lead us through that, as I understand it.
Yes, and I will stop sharing the screen that I have, if I can. And Tim has a brief overview to share, if you would like to move ahead with some work that you've been doing to help us get a better regional career pathway system in place. I want to thank Tim for his role and effort in kind of shepherding the request for proposals, and I'll let him go into the details of that. We actually only ended up getting 2 proposals in, and we've tried to have a team of folks from around the region involved and getting input from all the stakeholders. Our goal is to come up with something that hopefully will serve the region, serve all the schools, and from my perspective, do it in a very cost-effective way. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to just go very quickly here through a timeline of how we got to this point. So with Ben's help, we put together a request for proposals that was officially released at the beginning of October. We went through the normal channels of getting that out, but we also notified some developers that we thought might have expertise in this area and would be able to develop a platform for us. So we contacted QDen, LinkedIn, a company called Ideas, which I'll talk more about here momentarily, Upper Campus, Workbay, and 6Connects. Those were the 3 organizations that we had direct contact with, where we invited them to submit a proposal. We advertised the RFP on our website, on social media. We contacted individuals locally through our weekly newsletter, which goes out to individuals who work in local government and also in business and economic development. And we set a deadline of October 22nd. At that time, we received 2 submissions, and we'd hoped to get a few more submissions, but unfortunately 2 is all that we received. So we convened a review committee to look at those 2 submissions, and they held their first meeting on October 28th and met again on November the 10th. Now, our review committee was made up of individuals who work in education, career development, and economic development and business here locally. And you can see the individuals listed here. We included those who lead career and technical education programs for the 5 local school districts: Amy Huskin, John Hardy, Craig Maddox, Tony Francis, and Brad Bryant. We also involved Christine Kennedy, who is on this call, who many of you know as the Executive Vice President of the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, and also has a lot of experience in leadership development. We invited Pam Bailey, who works in the Office of Economic Development in Bedford County, to take part in this. She has experience with career development with their Bedford One program, so we wanted to have her input. And we also invited Sarah Jarrett and Patty Cefiati at Central Virginia Community College to be involved in this. They're very involved in career exploration and navigation for their students at CVCC, and also to some extent with the high schools as well. So here I'm just going to go very quickly through some of the proposals that we received. You should have received those proposals in hard copy, but I'm just going to summarize very quickly, if you haven't had a chance to get into the details, what those proposals involved. So the proposal we received from QDen offered to create customizable content for us, but on their platform. Now, QDen, some of you may have heard of this. It is a platform that is sort of in development still. It isn't a fully realized platform, and it has been adopted by 2 of the local school systems for career exploration. And the developer who created QDen offered to take some of the elements that we wanted and incorporate them into his existing platform. So we wouldn't necessarily, with QDN's platform, get a separate career pathway app or website, but we would be able to have content that is customized for the region that lives on their existing platform. And there was the opportunity for us to integrate that customized platform into our website, our Virginia CareerWorks Central Region website. The other proposal we received was from Ideas. Now, this name may be familiar to you because Ideas is the company that worked with the state to develop the Virginia CareerWorks brand that was unveiled in 2018. They are also the organization that built all of the websites for the workforce boards around the state. You'll notice that all of the workforce board websites right now look the same. They were created by Ideas and they are maintained by Ideas. And this company offered to build us, unlike QDN, they offered to build us a brand new platform that would be ours, that we could brand any way we would want. It would be our product, we would own it, and we could customize it to our specifications. And like QDN, we could integrate the app that they would develop for us with the existing Virginia CareerWorks Central Region website. Now, I had a one-on-one conversation with the developer that has put together the proposal for Ideas to get a little bit of clarity on their proposal. And they indicated to me that we would be able to maintain this app in the same way that we maintain our website. It would be built in a similar way that the website that we have now was built. So we could go in on the back end and maintain things the same way we maintain the website, which for me, since I'm the one right now who spends a lot of time updating the website and Mallory does too, we would be able to easily go in and update pages and add things to the app in the same way that we can do that right now on the website. And it would integrate with the website as well. So pages that one might see on the app would also live on the website. So here are the strengths that we've identified with each individual proposal. QDN offers us the opportunity to work with someone that is semi-local. The owner of this company and the person who does all of the software development is a guy named Seth Marsh, and he lives fairly close. He lives in the Shenandoah Valley, so he's nearby. He's easy to access. We have a prior working relationship with him. We've worked on some projects even this year with him. He was the person who helped us build and execute our virtual career fair that we hosted over the summer. We did a healthcare virtual career fair, and it was one of those things where we basically had to create this from scratch, and Seth was instrumental in helping us do that. So we do have that working relationship already with Seth. And the platform that he's developing, it has already been adopted by several local school systems, by Amherst County and Campbell County schools, I believe. Bobby, you may want to speak up and provide some input on that later on here. But I understand that platform to some extent has been adopted by 2 of our local school systems. Here's some of the feedback that we received from the review team. Now, everyone that was involved in the review process was invited to submit scoring sheets, and I would be happy to share the full scoring sheets with you to review so that you can see all of the comments. But here's just a sample of some of the comments that we received from those who were involved in the review process as it relates to QDN. Some of the comments included that the vendor didn't seem to meet the overall objectives and the functions that we were wanting as described in the RFP. There were also concerns raised that QDN doesn't have experience. They haven't proven that they can implement the type of career exploration platform that we're wanting, or resolve some of the technical issues that might come up. We're going to have the ability to build things on our end and maintain things on our end, but for the bigger technical issues, we will need that support. And there were some concerns that they wouldn't have the ability to do that. There were also concerns that the platform as it exists now isn't necessarily user-friendly, and that it might require a larger staff to implement it within the school systems. We want this to be something that our local school systems can take advantage of and use for career exploration, career development, and connections to internships and job opportunities within the region. The proposal we received from Ideas, some of the strengths we identified were that this company, as we said, has a track record of developing apps. Not only have they developed the websites and to some extent the brand for our workforce initiatives here in Virginia, they have also developed apps, very successful technology for other states. The most notable example being the app that they developed for Alabama's workforce development efforts, the Alabama Works app. If you download that app, it functions in a way that we're hoping ours will function. It offers the ability for the user to go through a very brief assessment, to put in some information about their career interests, their background, if they have any in the workforce, and then be connected with occupations and areas within the workforce that might match up with their skills and interests, so that they can learn about some of the job opportunities here in the region. They have a track record of building that app, and again, they were very involved in developing the Virginia CareerWorks brand and our existing websites. They have also offered, unlike QDIN, to build us a unique platform that will be ours. We talked with the review team about this, and our goal would be to develop something that has the Virginia CareerWorks brand associated with it. So if someone were to go in their app store on their phone and look for the Virginia CareerWorks Central Region app, they would find that and download it, and this would be what would be provided. They wouldn't have to download a separate product like QDIN or Upper Campus or any of these other platforms. And that's a concern that we've had, is that we don't necessarily want a lot of different apps out there necessarily. We want to try to have one central app that can be used by leaders in education and business locally to encourage career pathway development. The review team highlighted what we mentioned there in the strengths, that this vendor has a history of building similar apps. They have proven experience in this area, and that they provided detailed examples of both their development process and links to samples of their work. One thing I will say is that we did meet we did bring or invite the person who submitted the proposal for Ideas into a meeting with the review team. And there were concerns raised that this individual was not entirely clear with their answers, there were questions that were asked of this developer, and the answers weren't necessarily clear. So I do want to point that out. But again, I did have a follow-up meeting with the developer yesterday to ensure that they could build an app like what we're looking to do for the amount of money that we have budgeted. And it sounds like that not only will they be able to do that, but that it won't cost us a lot of money on an annual basis to maintain this app. They would only charge us a $1,500 annual maintenance fee. Some of these other platforms that we've looked into that we wouldn't even have an opportunity to brand and own as our own product could cost us tens of thousands of dollars in annual licensing fees. So this app wouldn't require that. We would own it. It would be branded any way we would want, and it would only require a very small annual maintenance fee. So I'm interested in any questions that you might have at this point. I hope that I can answer those for you.
So how much did we set aside for this project?
The amount listed in the RFP was $15,000.
Tim, you asked me to comment on QDIN. Some of the comments that you saw from the review team are the exact same things that I've heard over time. I don't know that it's been as successful as we had hoped that it would be. My question is, did the review team make a recommendation?
There doesn't seem to be a consensus. Let's put it that way. I would say that the ones who issued written feedback to me did indicate that they were in favor of the Ideas proposal.
it actually seems pretty clear that ideas is the favorable proposal. From many aspects, the only real benefit from the other acute end would be that it is relatively local, and even but having Bobby's comment was that they weren't completely 100% sold on them. I guess it seems to me that ideas looks to be the better of the two choices.
Did we receive upfront pricing and ongoing pricing from both?
Both submitted a budget for what they could offer, and it should be listed there in their proposals. If you didn't receive those, again, Cheryl, I can send you those. But they did list what they could provide, and both did submit budgets that came in right at $15,000, what we had budgeted.
I just didn't recall the ongoing prices. Is there any prices after the upfront?
So the ideas proposal, they do not have in writing the $1,500 annual maintenance fee. However, we can tell you from experience that our annual maintenance fee for the website right now is right at $1,000. And my discussion yesterday with the developer for ideas, he indicated that the amount for the app would be $1,500. But again, we do not have that in writing.
Anything from QDIN?
Ben, can you speak to that? I know that we've had discussions with him in the past about regional licensing fee, and Ben I think has better information about that.
Yeah. So I guess the thing that concerns me most about QDIN is when we have discussed trying to do something regional, he was talking in the range of $20,000–$25,000 a year. And that would support all the school systems in the region. But then there again, we have to work through their platform and, to do whatever we want to do. And our hope is, when you do things regionally, every locality has its own unique approaches. And so we want to be sensitive to that. My hope is that we can develop a platform that, number one, is comfortable and user-friendly for businesses so that they can post internships, work experience, work-based learning opportunities with all the school systems in the region, so that they have one login and then they can connect with all the schools, all the students in the region. And then secondly, for the school's sake, I hate to see a situation where we're having to go back on an annual basis and say, hey, we need $5,000 to cover this license fee. And from my thinking, if we can get something going region-wide and it's only, $1,500 more, we can cover that out of our workforce budget, and quite frankly, that would save all the school systems a big chunk of funding in order to give them access to all the employers in the region for work-based learning, internships, employment, and things like that. And probably the other thing, and there might be some additional expense regarding this. Christine and I have talked some about this, but our vision is especially during the COVID times we're in right now, is we can use a platform like this, do a virtual career expo. We would have to use Tim's expertise and some other folks certainly to develop some videos and to allow some interactive components to be developed. But with some of the discussions that are going on, I think we could actually do a very dynamic virtual career expo. As Christine and I have talked a little bit, maybe this is something, if we can get this in place, probably by fall of 2021, we could do a virtual career expo.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Tim, thank you very much. Great information and very thorough, so appreciate that.
Hey, Nat, Christine's on the call. She was on that committee. I'd be anxious to hear what she's got to say.
Christine?
I would not go with QDN for all the reasons that have been stated. I followed up with Tim. I think it was Friday. We talked about ideas proposal and the ambiguity when we did interview him on the phone. And said, look, I can be supportive of ideas proposal if you have a follow-up conversation and are comfortable that they can deliver. Because we just couldn't get the clarity we needed with some of the questions that we asked on the phone. So if it sounds like from Tim's conversation, follow-up conversation with ideas, he's comfortable that they can deliver. I have no problem with ideas. My concern, and this has nothing to do with the two that were submitted. My concern is most sophisticated career pathways portals that include an app, as Tim has already alluded to, can run upwards of $50,000–$60,000. So I think we have to go into this with the expectation that we did not ask for proposals. We gave them a specific budget limit. So we're going to get what we pay for. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but we can't expect it on the back end to maybe have some of the sophistication that some of these $50,000–$60,000 portals can do. That being said, the fact that Alabama Works is utilizing them, I have a greater level of confidence just knowing that brand recognition, because they are considered to be the gold standard for their career pathways work. So, I have no trouble with accepting this proposal, given the fact that we gave them a limited budget and given the fact that Tim has had a follow-up conversation and has clarified that they can deliver.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Nat, can I say one more thing here real quick?
Sure.
Just to follow up on what Christine said, I did, have that conversation with the developer yesterday, and this is basically what I told him. I said, I know for $15,000 we can't get everything. What we really need is, if you can build the house, we can put the walls up inside. We can bring in the appliances. We can put down the carpet. We just need the shell. If we can get the house, we can furnish it over time. So that's kind of what I think we're looking at here is, if we can just get the basic infrastructure, we can go in and customize it the way we want. And it is going to require a lot of work on our end. The software developer did indicate that he can create the basic app for us, have the assessment built in, create those basic pages for, let's say, 30, 40 or more of the most in-demand occupations for our region. And then we can start to build it out by putting individual pages in there that highlight businesses, where we can populate those pages with information about job opportunities and internships. We can put in educational modules like what John Hardy has developed in Campbell County. He has something in the learning platform called Canvas that he's been doing. We can replicate that on this app. And that's the other thing too I want to mention real quick, is there are so many apps out there right now that exist for career pathway development, but this is something we could own and create our own. We can customize it to what we want over time. It could take a while, but I think 5 years down the road, you could have something that you might look back and be very proud of, and something that could even be a model for other workforce boards around the state and maybe even around the country. We can make this our own. If we adopted something that another company already has built that isn't ours, it may or may not work for each of the school systems, but we will have the autonomy to make this what we want.
Great. Sounds good. Certainly we want to have something that isn't static and has a lot of parameters going into it. So I like that thought. Any other questions?
Just curious, Cheryl, do you have any wisdom from a technology standpoint, since you're representing the Technology Council? Does this make sense?
If sure, we can't see you, but you're also on mute if you are saying something.
Yes.
Perhaps she stepped away for a moment. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there she is. Thank you. Sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Cheryl. Don't know if you heard my question. Just checking to see if you had any additional thoughts or input from your involvement with technology to see if a virtual platform like this makes sense.
I apologize. My computer's being quirky.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, what is the question to me?
I was just curious, since you kind of represent the Technology Council, based on what you've seen or heard, does this make sense in terms of trying to do more virtual types of career pathway development?
Yeah, I
I
think so. I always like to support small businesses, of course. That's important to me. And I've had some conversations with QDIN as well, but it really sounds like going with ideas is probably the better direction for us, especially as it integrates with what we currently have.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we've got information. I think that is something that we would like to take an action on. If there are no other questions, do I have a recommendation or a motion to go forward?
This is Bobby, so moved.
Okay, Bobby, thank you. Do I have a second?
And let me say, Nat, that's to accept the proposal of ideas. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
I'll
Do a
second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded by Cheryl that we accept the proposal provided to us by Ideas. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, ready for the vote. All's in favor? Aye.
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 All right. And anyone against nay? All right. Ayes have it, and that's proposal going forward. And next steps, then I guess Tim and Ben. What are those next steps you will be taking?
We'll need to, I guess, confirm with Idea Solutions on any of the pricings. I think we need to get in writing what the expected or anticipated ongoing support costs would be, or maintenance cost. I think if we confirm that up, we can make an initial offer of award, and would need to post that and then notify the only other party, I guess, that responded in terms of what the decision that is made today.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks. All right. If there's nothing else, then we'll move forward to the strategic planning proposal. That's you, Ben.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see if I can bring up a few. I'll just start with a quick overview with the strategic plan. I'm not sure. I'm having some issues, it looks like. Are you all able to see? I'm not sure what you're able to see on your screen now. I was trying to share the Commonwealth of Virginia Local Workforce Area Plan guidance. My system is getting a little bit quirky, I think, as you said, Cheryl. Is something maybe going on with okay. All right. At any rate, you all see this is the proposal we got from Lori Strump. So basically, we sent out the request for proposals to several folks locally that we knew were involved with strategic planning. I had some conversation with Christine, and we did look and see who some of the other folks around the state were using. So we reached out to Strumpf and Associates. There was also the organization at Virginia Commonwealth University that did the state plan. So we had reached out to them as well, because one thing that we have to do is make sure that our plan regionally is in support of what happens at the state level. And so the feedback I got from the VCU folks is that they were not interested in responding to a request for proposals, but would be willing to maybe talk further about negotiating some kind of a strategic effort. But I do know that Strumpf and Associates will be conducting the strategic planning, local plan development for the Shenandoah Valley, at least, and maybe at least one other area around the state. And so what I wanted to share with you today is basically this is something that we have to do every 4 years. It's hard for me to believe that it's been it's technically been about 5 years since we got started with our plan that's currently in place. And so what we have to do, Nat and I discussed, is we have to kind of revisit our current plan, see what needs to be modified or updated. I think for the most part, we're probably pretty well aware of what some of the key needs are in terms of workforce. Because of the work that we've been doing on our sector strategies and career pathways, I think we understand where the high demand occupations are. But I think probably the most important thing is to kind of revisit and see what we need to adjust, modify, add to get us where we need to be in the next 4 years. And so the thing that I would share with you is if we look at the proposals that we have or the options that we have before us, we've got the one plan or the one response to the proposal from Strumpf and Associates that we can respond to and follow through with, or we could go back out, consult further with the Virginia Commonwealth University folks, or if you're not happy with what you see or what you saw in the Strumpf and Associates proposal, we could go out to bid again. We are operating under a very tight time frame because we have to have our final proposal completed and submitted by the end of March, by March 31st. So at this time, I just wanted to, Nat, I guess, open it up and see what kind of thoughts, ideas, suggestions the executive committee had in terms of direction to move forward with our strategic plan development and local plan development.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Ben. I think, let's see, if I remember correctly, we've set aside $10,000 or to spend up to $10,000 on this.
That's correct.
Yeah, and as you said, Strumpf is the only one who has responded. Initially I was thinking, okay, let's because the folks up above Shenandoah Valley will be using them. I would love to be able to get a feel for how they did with them, but those, if we do choose them, they will be running concurrently. So we can't really look back and see how they field their information or not. So my concern also is that would they be able to run two, or in the case if it's a third, whether they can run three at the same time.
Yeah,
I guess that's an issue for them. Anyone have any?
I'll share a little bit. I've had some involvement with Lori Strumpf, the principal there with Strumpf and Associates. I actually first met her probably 15 years ago. To give you some idea how long she's been in workforce. I actually worked out of the Martinsville, Henry County area. And that was back in the olden days of the Workforce Investment Act, WIA. And that was a sea change in workforce development that created great consternation, I think, around the state and around the country. Nat, you've been kind of witness to this, but
No
I know in the Martinsville, Henry County area, things got so ugly. The local officials could not agree enough, and after a couple years of not being able to agree, the state finally had to step in and say, we're going to appoint an organization to lead this transition from, at that time it was JTPA, to the Workforce Investment Act. And Actually, Strumpf and Associates was the one that was appointed to move the Martinsville, Henry County, Patrick County, Danville area into compliance with the WIA regulations.
Guys, this is Christine. I'm going to have to hop off for a 10:30. I was impressed with her proposal. I think it's thorough. I like the fact that it's data driven, and she'll take, what we have in terms of historical data and updates from our existing strategic plan to kind of chart a path moving forward. I would like some clarification on their capacity, if they are doing 3 strategic plans of similar nature in the first quarter. My only question I had on the overall proposal was, it seems like a very aggressive timeline, given we have holidays coming up, and given, January is likely busy for a lot of folks with transitioning back, with their workforces, and also I was thinking about some of our educators. So, but I am confident in their ability to execute a plan.
I'm curious, Christine, have you had any interaction with Lori or any of her team in the work?
Not to my knowledge, Ben. She does not sound familiar to me. But her proposal was thorough.
Okay.
Ben, this is Gary. Are there any advantages for us to wait and explore the VCU folks before making a decision?
That's a good question, Gary. Nat, I think you had since you were on the state board, you had I think probably a lot more interaction with them than I did. I attended one event that they held in Roanoke that was kind of the information or kind of the SWOT analysis part of it. But what are your thoughts, Matt?
Certainly they led us through the process to get the state plan done. So I mean, they are very capable. But the question is, I guess I need a little bit more clarification as to what they said they would not. They would help us to some extent, but not really do the plan. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I didn't get a good sense that they. I mean, what Lori does, I think she will be doing a lot of it virtually, kind of like what we're doing right now with, with Teams or some other virtual platform. Just given the situation we're in. Like I say, I had some phone conversations, some email dialogue with the VCU folks, and they said they're certainly willing to help out. Just if we wanted to negotiate with them on the process, then they'd be happy to do that.
Now, I didn't get the sense that they weren't going to present a plan. Page 6. 3 deliverables: a strategy that is codified into a strategic plan and outcomes document. And then page 7, page 8, top of page 8, be available to make any revisions based on feedback from the state's evaluation. So I didn't get the sense because February 23rd, summarize comments for review and submit a final plan for approval. So I didn't get the sense that they weren't going to create the strategic plan. I definitely think I would not pay $10,000 if we didn't get an actual formal written plan and outcomes document. So Ben, you might want to clarify that if you guys vote to move forward. But I got the sense that we would have a formal document that would be submitted to the state.
Yeah, with Strumpf and Associates, that is the case.
Okay.
But not necessarily the VCU folks.
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't work. Yeah, I mean, we don't have the staffing capacity. I don't think that's the highest and best use of our time to have to then write a plan.
Right. Yeah. So certainly we could use them as a resource, but it may be that that they aren't providing a full package. Now, as I've mentioned to Ben, my concern always is that do we really need to go to stage one? In the sense of doing the SWOT analysis and so on and so forth. I think that it's been mentioned we have a lot of data in place already, so we don't need to start at base level 1. Perhaps we could start at 3 or 4 in regards to utilizing the many studies that have been done already, and as he mentioned, the strategic plan that's already in place, and go forward from there. Like I said, all of us, probably most of us at the table right now, have sat in the same meeting probably 5 times over the course of the last 10 or 15 years, doing and coming back at the very end with the same basic information. So and more I've been saying, like, let's just do away with that first and second step, and let's get straight to the third, where we know, or approximately know, what we want and what we need.
Nat, I had the same thought on page 7. I think we need to, for step 3, bullet point 3, I don't think we need to define vision, mission, values. I think we need to either affirm or tweak.
Right.
And so maybe the proposal, if we accept it, could be we could ask for some edits on that whole section to say, add to or delete anything from the SWOT, the past SWOT that's not applicable. And that, quite frankly, can be done in the form of a survey. I don't know that we need a meeting to do that.
That's right.
And then to affirm the vision, mission, and values, or provide comments or feedback on anything that needs to be changed. I don't think we need a Zoom call to do another SWOT.
Right, I agree. So that's exactly what I was thinking. Thank you, Christine, for crystallizing that. Exactly.
Okay. We'll make note of that.
So,
and I have to hop off, guys, but I'm in support. If you all need a affirmative yes on their proposal, I am a yes.
okay. So thank you. And you brought up a couple points that I would think as well. One is that we want to confirm that they have the capacity to be able to do 2 or 3 simultaneously. That's one of my early questions. And then 2, not starting at ground zero, but perhaps stage 2 or 3. And will there be any ultimate change in their costing factor in that regards? We have $10,000, but we don't have to spend that $10,000 necessarily if the case may be. So anyway, thank you, Christine.
Thanks. Bye, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You too.
You too.
Other questions, comments in regards to this particular proposal? So I guess we were saying that, I guess back to your question, Gary, VCUs, it's not really a proposal for a complete package. So I guess we could get some sort of support from them, but not necessarily what we need ultimately.
Well, I don't have a problem with the Strump proposal. I just know that VCU as a state organization, just like ours, we typically don't respond to RFPs. And so if a local government or a state agency wants to put in an RFP, then we don't respond, but we would negotiate with them. So but I'm okay with the Trump proposal. They're a good company. As long as they've got the capacity, we'll be okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Comments, thoughts? Because we talked a little bit, and of course, with my dual hats, we think that that March, April timeframe is going to be pretty static. So we want to make sure that we are well on our way to having this information available at that time. So we don't have a whole lot of time to go back and do a second review. So it's my thought that we make a decision today in regards to this, and with Ben going and asking those 2 or 3 questions that we've just put out there. Do they have the capacity, and what can we provide to them that can shorten this timeline? So with that, if there are no questions, is there a motion on the floor, or someone would be willing to put a motion out?
Nat, this is Ron. I make a motion that we accept that proposal.
Okay. Do a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Ron, Cheryl, thank you very much. It's been properly moved and second that we accept the proposal coming from Stroff, and that we would, check on a couple things in that regard. One, check on their to ensure they have the capacity, and two, that if we can have the opportunity to shorten the process by starting at steps 2 or 3, we certainly would appreciate that. Any further conversation, questions, thoughts? Hearing none, ready for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, thanks. Anyone against? Nay. All right, as have it. And all right, so in this regard, Ben, what's your next step?
I will reach out to Strumpf and Associates and get clarification in terms of their capacity to work with us and give us the attention we need to get the work done. And I guess also just try to clarify some flexibility in terms of how we do the SWOT analysis component.
Yeah.
And if they are able to move in the direction we need, then be able to extend an offer.
Yeah, and taking into account Christine's suggestion of the first point of contact being a general survey versus a Zoom call or something of that sort.
Right.
Okay. All right, cool. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, next item on the discussion is the staff bonuses. And Gary, you gonna lead us in that conversation?
Good morning. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may know, the Planning District Commission provides staff support and financial management support for 4 different boards. Each one of those boards has their own budget and sets their own salary regarding for individual employees within the Planning District Commission pay system. We are following the local governments to a great degree, and in July, many of the local governments did not give raises, but instead deferred action to see what better money was going to be through the course of the year. That time has come, and now many of our local governments are giving bonuses or raises or some kind of adjustments in their salaries for employees. Planning District Commission last week authorized a $1,000 bonus for our 8 employees in the Planning District Commission side. The Services Authority will discuss theirs in December for their 20 employees. And I want to bring that to your attention for the 4 employees you have under the workforce program, that the other folks within the Planning District Commission family are that is under consideration. Now you have adequate monies for a $1,000 bonus in your funds because of the Wagner Pizer monies that have come in that were not necessarily budgeted, that have freed up some of our general fund money in the workforce program. So I want to bring that to your attention. We're moving that way in the Planning District Commission side and are considering it next month over in the Services Authority. Happy to answer any questions. It is not mandatory that you take this action. It's just bring it to your attention.
Gary, thank you very much. I guess consistency wise, it sounds like the other groups have decided to do that. So certainly, while we don't necessarily have to do it, we would be consistent if we do it. And certainly our group, over the course of the last 6 or 8 months, have certainly stepped up to the plate in regards to really trying to do their very best to in some less than ideal circumstances. So any comments, questions in regards to the possibility of staff bonuses? And we're saying $1,000 for each full-time employee, Gary?
That is what the Planning District Commission has done for our 8 employees. Okay. You have 4 full-time.
Gotcha.
Now, this is Ron. Gary, what if you do $1,000 across the board, percentage-wise, how much is that? As a total?
Well, it's not much, but I have to do some calculation. It's only we're talking $4,000 out of your out of your $1.4 million budget.
Now, I'm talking about as a percentage of compensation.
I'll have to figure it out. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Okay.
You talking total compensation there, Ron, for the 4 employees?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ben, do you have that? Do you have that number? You have the budget handy?
I could just give some approximations, but so, I mean, the staff we're talking about, of course, would be Tim, Lori, and Gina. Many of you probably not familiar with Gina, but she's on the front lines actually helping with the Wagner Pizer work at the Career Center, doing the job matching and employer job postings and things like that. So really, it's just the 4 of us, and it would be probably just think rough. I would say it'd probably average about a 2%.
Okay.
For Gina, of course, she's a wage, exempt, non-exempt position.
Right.
For her, it would be a plus, but there again, for her sake, she's on the front lines in what would be considered under the COVID guidelines a medium hazard occupation.
Okay. 2% was really what I was looking for.
Yeah.
As a percent, that sounds good. You could either do it a flat amount per person or take the $4,000 and prorate that on a percentage basis, whichever, Ben, you would feel comfortable with. So, but I think overall 2% is good.
Okay.
Okay, other comments, thoughts? I'm assuming that everybody's supportive of the aspect. Certainly they've done a great yeoman's job in regards to this. If there are no other comments, questions, we'll say, that $1,000 on average per employee, and if there's tweaking that may go on in regards to a percentage of their salary, I guess. But is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, Earl.
Hey,
And
Nick, I have one question, one thought, on this percentage versus a flat rate. You got different salaries that if you do a 2%, one person, our frontline workers, our least salaried employees are going to get significantly less than our higher paid, employees. That's why a bonus of one, is a better way, and it's not reoccurring. And I would prefer you just do the flat rate as opposed, I think it's going to be close to 2 to 3% for all of those employees, but I think we'd be better and more consistent to do just a flat bonus.
okay, is everyone okay with it?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Ron. All right, so we'll amend the motion to as such. Okay.
Okay.
If that's good with everybody, then all those in favor, aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone against? Nay. Okay, great. Thanks. Appreciate it. Gary, thank you for that as well. All right, so let's see, a couple more quick things, and appreciate y'all sticking around for as long. So the next thing is the Career Center updates and COVID-19 planning. Ben?
Yeah. So just kind of the challenge we face, and I'd like to get your wisdom as executive committee on this. We have multiple partners there at the center, and of course it is the Virginia Employment Commission building, and so we have multiple different policies, especially around COVID, that we're trying to sort through and try to determine the best way that we can continue serving the public while keeping all the staff safe and to some degree, I guess, comfortable with the way things are working. And say, for example, the Virginia Employment Commission has a policy that if you travel out of state, there's the expectation that you would quarantine for at least 2 weeks, 14 days before coming back into the office. The discussion has come up, well, the reality is the COVID rate is going up so much everywhere, including in Virginia, and there's some huge hot spots, in and around our area. So people are asking, well, what difference does it make if you travel out of state versus travel out of the region? Or I think more importantly, over the holidays, there will be a lot of people probably from out of state that are traveling in to visit family. So, personally, I wonder, we absolutely need to fully support the highest levels of sanitation and safety protocols. What I would like to get some feedback and maybe some guidance from you all is, do we continue with the expectation after the holidays that if people are traveling out of state, then when they return, they quarantine for 14 days? Or do we go a different route and certainly make sure that folks, if they do travel out of state, do we also ask the question, do you have out of state people traveling in? I'm not sure how your workplaces are handling this. And I would say that I think from what we are experiencing, the people who come into the center are folks who absolutely need some kind of assistance because, number one, they don't have internet access or a computer, or they don't have the understanding maybe of how to navigate the web-based system to file for and maintain your unemployment benefits, or conduct job search online. So the people that come into the center are folks who do require literally one-on-one assistance to know how to use the keyboard, to navigate a website, to use a mouse, and those are things that, like I say, would be considered at least a minimum risk in terms of potential COVID spread. So we are in the process of piloting an electronic scanning device that will allow remote temperature checking and seeing if you're making sure that folks will wear face masks. So that will allow us to, if it is successful, we have some sanitation and safety funds that could be used to purchase 1 or 2 of these devices. I think they're $2,000 to $3,000 each. Right now, we have one person that's more or less dedicated to doing temperature checks and asking health screening questions. So if this test that will be tried out for a week, starting next Monday, if that turns out to be a successful device, then that would potentially eliminate the need of one person dedicated to temperature checks and health screening questions. We would still need to do that in some fashion, but would be able to do that without actually having to put a thermometer up to someone's head and do that kind of a screening. That being said, I would just like to have a chance to get your thoughts and input on, do we close the center down for 2 weeks since so many people will be traveling and just offer services virtually? Do we close it down for 2 weeks after Thanksgiving and 2 weeks, after Christmas and New Year's? Do we keep it open? I'd like to get your thoughts and your wisdom on an appropriate way to manage that.
So a couple quick questions there, Ben, in that regard. All right. So how many can we decide on? Well, we don't have a jurisdiction on the VEC folks, do we?
No, we don't.
So how your 4 and the folks doing from a Keith's group.
Yes.
Those are sets of folks that we would have control over.
That's right. We, the other agencies involved, Adult Education, Department of Aging, Rehab Services, and Job Corps, all of those folks are still operating remotely. I mean, DARS is doing some in-person appointments at their office over near EC Glass, but they're not actually seeing anyone in the center yet. The only folks who are seeing people in the center are our Wagner Pizer team, of which many are temporary staff, and the Humankind team with adult, dislocated, and youth. Those are the only ones who are actually seeing people in person. And from what I can tell, the Humankind staff are willing to continue working as long as the safety protocols are followed.
All right. Anyone's thoughts?
I certainly don't think we can close down. It's certainly not in the best interest, I don't believe, of the people who need the service.
Yeah, I agree. So certainly, I think you've been in the sense that in today's world, really, it's no better to be in Richmond or Newport News or Tidewater than New Jersey, Connecticut, or whatever, because those are all hot spots, as you said. So, I think that that by putting a cover around the state of Virginia doesn't do as much good. Do we know how many folks are actually are thinking of leaving the state for a visit or for the holiday?
We know that at least one of our part-time Wagner Pizer staff will be traveling back to the New England area. That's where she's from for Thanksgiving, and she's one that's been there in the Career Center, working, doing the hands-on navigation with folks needing assistance. I mean, folks like her, if we get into the quarantine, she wouldn't be able to come into the center, but I was trying to think, is she New Jersey, I think? I believe it's New Jersey New Jersey or Connecticut is where she's from.
Okay.
Some of the other members are from the Tidewater area.
Yeah. Okay. Ron, were you going to say something? Maybe not.
I was saying, I don't think we should shut it down.
Right.
And, I'll be honest, like Matt, you were saying, if someone went to Tidewater and visited over Thanksgiving, I'm not sure it's any different than going to New England. Because one of the things with the number of cases now, it's kind of spread out all over the country versus where it was concentrated up in the northeast sector. It's spread out everywhere now.
Yeah.
My feeling is take a temperature check and sanitize hands and wear a mask and get on with life.
Right. So, anyone have any opposition to that? I think that really just speaks to it. We got to have some common sense, And as you said, Ron, it's so widespread that just putting a rope around Virginia really makes no sense anymore.
No.
So, it may face a little bit of backlash from the VEC folks, but I think from certainly I think just from general consensus, this group is saying let's not have that as a requirement of a 14-day quarantine, but you should continue to have as high of standards to ensure safety of our employees as well as those coming into the center.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll be meeting this afternoon at 2:00 with the kind of leadership team. So we'll get it. I really appreciate your thought and input on that.
Great, thanks. So the final item is new board members review and recommendations. Ben?
Yeah. And so, I was trying to share my screen, but for some reason, Teams is not allowing me to share my screen anymore. But Just as an update, we are required to have at least 2 representatives from labor organizations on our board. That's been a struggle for us in the past. So I've reached out to the state level labor rep, Deborah Prowse-Mays. And so she's been able to give us 2 names of individuals, and they have both agreed and submitted paperwork with a willingness to serve on our board. So we have, for labor representation, Samuel Penn. He's the United Steelworkers staff representative for District 8. We also have Charles Mann, who's District 20 local lodge representative for the AFL-CIO. So those are 2 individuals that we need to consider bringing onto our board. Ultimately, we have to get our elected officials involved in approving these individuals. And I hate to say, but Kathy Woody, who's been serving on a board for Framatome, has indicated that she wants to retire again. And so she has submitted her resignation. And but we're fortunate that she's been able to provide 2 nominations for Framatome to take her place. I guess we get a 2-for-1 special. So she has nominated Travis Griffith, Framatome. He's in their HR area and responsible for university relations, basically trying to connect and cultivate the talent they need from the college and university community, kind of a recruiting role. And she also submitted Anthony Cardoso, who is the installed base and training and planning manager. So I think the value that Anthony could bring is, as we look at developing our career pathways, he has a good understanding of the training needs of Framatome. And then because of the fact that we need to maintain our majority private sector business representation on the board, we've also gotten 1 nomination from the SHRM chapter from Jason Shockley. I have not received his paperwork yet, but he's the vice president at the Industrial Plating Corporation, a small business here in Lynchburg that's in the metals plating industry. But those are we've got the paperwork from 4 that we could definitely move ahead on. And if you're comfortable with, if we get the paperwork from Jason Shockley, and we can put him forth as well as someone to be considered by elected officials. I didn't know if you had any questions, comments about any of those individuals, but that's the slate of individuals for potential new board members for consideration.
Any questions or comments? The 2 from Framatome I know very well, and they would do very well for us. So certainly those are 2 very strong candidates there. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? So what do we need to do right now, Ben, in regards to going forward?
Well, I think if the executive committee would like to make a motion to send this slate of candidates to the group of elected officials, to the chief elected officials body, then that would be appropriate.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to so move.
This is Bobby, a motion to approve.
Okay, Bobby, thank you. Second. And Cheryl, any additional discussion? Hearing none, ready for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone against? Ayes have it. Thank you. All right. I think that takes care of all the items we had before us today. Thank you all for your patience. Am I correct, Ben? Does that take care of everything?
That does.
All right.
That's
cool.
good.
So I appreciate it. We actually got through a lot in the hour and 15 minutes or so that we talked. So appreciate your willingness to stick with us on this. Our next board meeting is when, Ben?
It's January.
January. Okay.
Second Tuesday in January.
All right.
And
Sounds
so
good.
I'll be
So-
sending out a save the date on that. I didn't want to crowd the email boxes too much. I'll send one out after the Thanksgiving holiday to remind folks.
And I think that we have a youth committee meeting coming up first,
Yeah.
second week in December, right?
December. That's correct.
Okay, cool. So look forward to seeing those who are on that committee
Yes,
thank you all.
December the 7th.
participating. Have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe, and you'll probably hear from us between now and Christmas, I guess. So y'all take care.
Thank
Happy
you, guys.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya. Take care. Bye.
Mm.